Children of light, hear these words carried on the wings of truth. There comes a moment in every age when the scales of justice tremble under the weight of human deeds. For a long time the wicked believe themselves unseen, untouched, and unaccountable. They cloak themselves in deceit, wield cruelty as power, and wound the innocent with sharpened intent. In their arrogance, they imagine heaven sleeps. But heaven does not sleep. When a heart grows corrupt and delights in harming others, the universe begins its quiet preparation. Every lie spoken, every manipulation woven, every cruelty inflicted, forms its own echo. That echo becomes a storm, and when the time is right, the storm answers. And so it has. The one who reveled in darkness, the one whose hands sowed malice near you, has now reaped the harvest she planted. The very energies she sent into the world have returned to her with divine precision. No sword was needed, no flame was required. The justice of heaven is not loud, it is exact. This is not vengeance, this is alignment. Do not rejoice in her downfall, for the fall of a soul is never a celebration. Instead, rejoice that truth has been restored. Rejoice that your suffering was seen. Rejoice that light has answered. Let this be a reminder carved into your spirit. Walk in integrity, and the universe will shield you. Walk in compassion, and heaven will rise for you. Walk in truth, and no shadow can overpower you. And when darkness approaches again, as it often does in a world still learning to awaken, remember this: the forces of light stand ever watchful, not with pride, not with wrath, but with unwavering purpose. Justice will always find its way. Even when you cannot see it, even when you no longer believe it, even when the wicked boast that they cannot be touched. For no evil escapes the gaze of heaven. Stand tall now, walk forward with renewed strength. The storm has passed, and you were protected. Divine justice returns what darkness creates, and this truth stretches across every corner of existence like an unbreakable thread. It operates silently, without needing witnesses, applause, or acknowledgement. It does not rush, nor does it ever forget. Every action, small or great, hidden or public, sets into motion a ripple that eventually circles back to its source. This is not punishment in the human sense, nor is it fueled by vengeance. It is simply the universe maintaining its balance, ensuring that whatever energy one pours into the world ultimately finds its way home. Darkness may appear powerful when it moves unchecked, when it manipulates, harms, lies, or destroys. It often seems as though those who commit cruelty walk freely, while the innocent shoulder the weight of their actions. But this perception is only temporary. In reality, every dark deed becomes a seed planted in the soil of consequence, and that seed grows relentlessly until the day it bears fruit. The return of this energy is not always dramatic. Sometimes it comes quietly, through the collapse of a scheme, the exposure of a hidden truth, the breaking of an illusion, or the unraveling of a deception. Other times it arrives as a storm, swift and undeniable, leaving no doubt that a higher order has intervened. Whatever its form, Divine justice always matches the intention behind the deed. What is sent out is what returns, often magnified so that its meaning becomes unmistakable. Someone who spreads malice will one day find themselves surrounded by the echoes of that very malice. Someone who manipulates others will eventually become trapped in their own web. Someone who harms those who carry light will find that the light they attacked stands as a witness before a greater power. This principle also extends to the innocent. Those who act with sincerity, compassion, and honesty may not see rewards immediately, but their goodness builds a foundation that cannot be shaken. Their kindness becomes a shield. Their integrity becomes a pathway. Their endurance becomes a call that heaven answers in its own timing. Divine justice does not simply return darkness to the one who created it, it also returns blessings to those who have resisted darkness while walking in truth. The universe is not blind to suffering, nor does it ignore the silent strength of those who choose goodness in the face of cruelty. Every moment of patience, every act of forgiveness, every decision to stand firm rather than retaliate, these things accumulate into a powerful force that eventually rises to meet them. Even when it appears that wickedness thrives, something deeper is happening beyond human sight. Every harmful action adds weight to the soul of the one who commits it, pulling them further toward the consequences they cannot escape. They may believe they are untouchable, hidden, unstoppable. They may laugh at the pain they cause or boast of their ability to manipulate. But the universe keeps perfect records. It aligns every thread. It traces every intention. It understands every secret thought, and in time, it ensures that the energy they have woven returns to them with clarity. This return is not random. It is not chaotic. It is not cruel. It is simply the natural law of spiritual cause and effect. When darkness is created, it must be balanced. When harm is inflicted, truth must rise. When innocence is targeted, protection must arrive. The universe works patiently, unfailingly, and with precision. And when the moment of return arrives, it does so not to destroy, but to correct. Darkness collapses not because a force seeks to crush it, but because it cannot hold itself together. Once its consequences rise to the surface, it implodes under the weight of its own creation. The beauty of divine justice is that it does not require the innocent to retaliate. It does not ask them to fight battles that would drain their spirit or corrupt their purity. Instead, it calls them to remain aligned with truth, knowing that truth will defend them. It encourages them to continue walking in light, even when surrounded by shadows. It strengthens them quietly, gathering its power until the moment the scales tip and darkness must face itself. This principle also reminds every soul that they are responsible for the energies they contribute to the world. If one wishes for peace, they must create peace. If one wishes for blessings, they must sow them. If one wishes for protection, they must walk in integrity. The universe always returns what is given, and this truth becomes a guide for those who seek to live with intention and wisdom. It teaches that one cannot escape the consequences of their own spirit, whether good or ill. And yet, divine justice is never rushed by human desire. People may cry out, wondering why the wicked prosper, or how long they must wait before truth rises. But justice unfolds according to a higher timing, one that takes into account not only the actions of the wicked, but the growth, preparation, and evolution of those affected. Sometimes the innocent must learn strength, patience, or discernment before justice is fully revealed. Sometimes truth must wait for the perfect moment to ensure its impact is complete and irreversible. When the time arrives, however, it arrives with certainty. Those who walk in darkness ultimately face the mirror they have crafted with their own hands, and those who walk in light ultimately receive the protection and recognition that their soul has earned. This is why divine justice cannot be avoided, delayed indefinitely, or manipulated. It is a force woven into the nature of existence itself. It ensures that darkness collapses under its own weight, and that light remains unbroken. In this way, divine justice does not merely return what darkness creates. It restores balance, lifts the innocent, humbles the wicked, and illuminates the truth that no soul can escape the echo of its own actions. The innocent are always seen and defended, even when the world convinces them otherwise, even when their suffering feels hidden behind closed doors or buried beneath silence. Every tear shed without witness, every moment of endurance, every quiet act of goodness in the face of cruelty becomes a kind of luminous signal that rises beyond human perception. In times when a gentle heart feels overlooked or abandoned, a deeper awareness is already at work, observing, measuring, and preparing. Innocence is never ignored. It is held with a kind of reverence that cannot be diminished by the shadows surrounding it. The very purity of an innocent soul becomes its own shield, drawing protection in ways that may not be visible immediately, but are certain in their arrival. There are moments in life when darkness seems to have the upper hand, and those who carry light feel small or powerless. Yet the truth is that light does not need to be loud to be mighty. It does not need to fight with the same weapons as the wicked. Its strength comes from its essence. Those who act with sincerity, kindness, and integrity form an unspoken connection with forces that operate beyond earthly eyes. Their struggles are noted, their burdens are acknowledged, and their resilience does not go unnoticed. What they endure becomes part of a larger movement toward truth and restoration. The universe does not allow innocence to be trampled without response. For every act of harm creates a counterforce that rises in defense of the one who has been wronged. Defense does not always appear in the form one expects. Sometimes it arrives quietly, through doors closing that were dangerous, through paths redirecting that would have led to greater pain, through the removal of people whose intentions were destructive. Sometimes it is the unraveling of deceit at precisely the right moment, exposing what was hidden. Sometimes it is the sudden weakening of someone who once wielded power through manipulation or cruelty. Other times, defense manifests as inner strength awakening within the innocent, giving them clarity, courage, or a voice they did not know they possessed. Protection does not always mean shielding from all harm. Sometimes it means transforming the innocent into someone capable of rising above that harm. There is a misconception that innocence is fragile, but in truth, it possesses a resilience that darkness cannot comprehend. It is the nature of innocence to endure, to remain untainted despite trials, to hold on to compassion even when met with hostility. This inner purity becomes an anchor that cannot easily be overturned. Those who act without malice generate a form of spiritual momentum that shields them from the full impact of adversity, even when they do not realize it. The protection surrounding them may be subtle at first, but it strengthens over time, building with each honest choice and every act of goodness. When someone with a pure heart is wronged, a shift occurs in realms beyond physical sight. The wrongdoing becomes a weight that rests on the one who inflicted it, while the innocent, though wounded, is lifted by forces aligned with justice. Their suffering is never meaningless, nor is it overlooked. A response is always set in motion. Sometimes this response is slow, unfolding across weeks or years, shaped by the complexities of human free will and the lessons involved, but its arrival is certain. No harm inflicted upon an innocent soul remains unanswered. In many cases, the defense of the innocent appears in the form of revelation. Masks fall away, true intentions surface, hidden motives are illuminated. The clarity that emerges may break bonds that were harmful, end cycles of pain, or free the innocent from burdens they were never meant to carry. The exposure of truth often heralds the beginning of healing, and this unveiling is itself a form of divine protection. The innocent are defended both by shielding and by revelation. Also, the innocent often receive support in ways they do not immediately recognize. A chance encounter with the right person, a sudden insight that shifts their path, an unexpected opportunity, or a burst of inner courage at a crucial moment. All of these are manifestations of unseen defense. They may mistake their resilience for mere coincidence or their intuition for luck, but these things are part of a larger system of protection that follows them. Even during the darkest moments, when the innocent feel isolated or forgotten, they are surrounded by energies that work quietly on their behalf. Their prayers, whether spoken or silent, are heard. Their pain is not absorbed into emptiness, but carried into realms where it becomes a call for intervention. Those who carry light are never left to fend for themselves. They are followed, guarded, guided, and uplifted, even when they do not ask for it. Their goodness places them under a watchful eye that never wavers. The world may try to convince them that kindness is weakness, or that innocence is vulnerability, but this is an illusion. The truth is that innocence connects directly to the highest form of strength, the strength that does not break, does not corrupt, and does not surrender to darkness. It is this purity that attracts protection, that ensures justice, that draws support from forces far greater than anything the wicked can summon. And while the innocent may feel the weight of what they endure, they are simultaneously being positioned for greater things. Their suffering becomes a catalyst for transformation. Their endurance becomes a testament to their soul's power. When the time is right, the support surrounding them rises so clearly that no one can deny it. Events shift. People change. The truth surfaces. Harm turns upon itself, and the innocent stands, not merely unharmed, but stronger, wiser, and more radiant than before. Their defense is not only about shielding them from pain, it is also about guiding them toward their destiny, ensuring that no act of malice can divert them from the path they are meant to walk. The universe keeps perfect track of every injustice, not to foster revenge, but to ensure balance and protection for those who walk in light. In this way, the innocent are never abandoned. They are never unseen. They are never defenseless. Even when they feel small, they are surrounded by watchful guardianship. Even when they feel silenced, their truth speaks loudly in realms unseen. Even when they feel vulnerable, they are protected by forces far greater than any darkness that dares to rise against them. No deceit escapes higher truth, for truth is woven into the very fabric of existence, pulsing beneath every action, every thought, and every intention. Even when lies appear powerful, polished, or carefully constructed, they are built on unstable ground. Deceit requires constant maintenance, new lies to sustain old ones, shifting stories to cover growing cracks, and endless energy to preserve illusions. Truth, in contrast, stands effortlessly. It does not need reinforcement, disguise, or manipulation. It simply is. And because it is unchanging, it becomes the force that ultimately exposes and dissolves everything built in opposition to it. When someone chooses deception, they believe they can outrun truth, avoid consequence, or manipulate perception long enough to get what they want. They may fool people for a time. They may create shadows thick enough to obscure their intentions. They may hide behind charisma, charm, intelligence, or authority. But these are temporary shields. The universe has a way of revealing what human eyes fail to see. Higher truth is not limited by appearances, nor is it persuaded by the illusions the deceitful craft around themselves. Truth watches quietly, waiting for the moment when the mask can no longer be sustained. The collapse of deceit does not happen all at once. It usually begins subtly. A lie contradicts another lie. A false story becomes difficult to remember. A detail slips. A witness speaks. A pattern becomes noticeable. A person who once ignored intuition begins to pay attention. The web woven so carefully begins to vibrate with inconsistencies, and these vibrations grow until the entire structure shakes. Higher truth does not need to forcefully tear illusions apart. It simply allows deceit to unravel under its own weight. What is false cannot hold itself together indefinitely. There is an energy to deception, heavy, constricting, and unstable. It carries consequences for the one who uses it, even before the truth becomes public. Lies cloud judgment, distort perception, and poison the spirit. They create a growing fear of exposure, a constant anxiety of being discovered, and a never-ending need to maintain a facade. The deceitful may appear confident outwardly, but internally they are trapped in the very cage they have built. Truth, on the other hand, brings clarity, peace, and freedom. Those who act with honesty stand on solid ground, unafraid of discovery, because there is nothing to hide. Higher truth also works through people. It nudges intuition, whispers warnings, gives sudden insights, and reveals patterns that were once overlooked. Someone who is deceived begins to sense something is off. They feel the emotional shift, the inconsistency of words versus actions, or the way something doesn't align. Higher truth uses these inner senses to guide them out of confusion and into clarity. Even if they have been misled, they will ultimately find their way back to understanding, because truth calls to the human spirit, and it is recognized on a level deeper than logic. Sometimes the exposure of deceit is slow and steady. Other times it arrives suddenly, like a lightning strike that illuminates everything at once. A hidden message comes to light. A witness steps forward. A moment of anger reveals what was concealed. A slip of the tongue exposes the truth. Or circumstances shift in such a way that lies can no longer be sustained. People who were once convinced begin to question. Those who remain silent find their voices, and the truth emerges, undeniable and unshakable, cutting through layers of illusion in an instant. Higher truth is not vindictive. Its purpose is alignment. It restores balance where deception has caused imbalance. It heals what lies have damaged. It frees those who were manipulated or misled. It returns clarity to those who were confused, strength to those who were weakened, and justice to those who were wronged. Truth arrives not only to expose the deceit, but to bring healing to the situation it infiltrated. Its purpose is not to punish, but to correct. Even when deception appears successful for a time, it is only a delay, not an escape. Every deceitful action creates a trail, even if the deceiver believes they have covered their tracks. Higher truth is capable of seeing all intentions, whether hidden or disguised. It recognizes the motives behind words, the energy behind actions, and the intentions behind silence. Nothing can truly be hidden from the forces that govern truth, no matter how subtle the concealment. There is also a moment, often unexpected, when deceit backfires. When the lies meant to harm another end up harming the liar instead. This reversal happens because deception is inherently unstable. It collapses inward, consuming those who rely on it. The one who tries to manipulate others becomes ensnared in their own manipulation. The one who tries to mislead becomes lost in their own lies. The one who tries to create confusion is ultimately overtaken by confusion themselves. Truth does not have to fight deceit. Deceit destroys itself in the presence of truth, and the innocent, those who have suffered because of deception, are not forgotten. Higher truth works on their behalf, bringing clarity, vindication, and healing. What was hidden from them becomes visible. What was used against them becomes powerless. Their intuition strengthens. their understanding deepens, the truth rises in their favor, and the shadows that once surrounded them dissolve. In the end, every lie, no matter how small, must face the light of higher truth. Every deception must meet accountability. Every illusion must fall. This is the nature of reality, not driven by punishment, but by correction and clarity. Truth stands eternal, and everything that is built upon it stands firm. Everything built upon deceit eventually cracks, crumbles, and comes undone. No deceit escapes higher truth, because truth is patient, all-encompassing, and woven into the essence of every soul. It seeks not destruction, but alignment. It waits, watches, and reveals in perfect timing. And in that moment, what is false is swept away, and what is real remains, unbroken and undeniable. Light restores balance in its own time, moving with the rhythm that does not bend to impatience, fear, or the frantic urgency of human expectation. It works according to a design far greater than what the eye can see or the mind can comprehend. Light does not rush, nor does it lag. It arrives at the exact moment when its presence will have the greatest impact, the deepest meaning, and the most lasting transformation. Even when darkness seems overwhelming, when pain feels unending, or when chaos appears to have taken control, light is already gathering strength in the unseen, preparing the moment when it will break through and shift everything back into alignment. Balance is not restored through haste, but through precision. Light does not simply counteract darkness, it restructures, cleanses, and reorders everything that has been disfigured by deception, malice, or harm. It illuminates what has been hidden, reveals what has been distorted, and heals what has been wounded. But such restoration requires timing. If it arrives too early, the lesson is incomplete. If it arrives too late, the damage grows deeper. That is why light moves with such careful deliberation. It intervenes when it knows the soul is ready, when the truth will have meaning, and when change will be lasting rather than temporary. People often believe that darkness is stronger simply because it makes noise, causes immediate disruption, and creates rapid destruction. But darkness is chaotic and short-lived. It destroys quickly because it cannot sustain itself. Light, on the other hand, is steady, patient, and enduring. It rebuilds what was broken, mends what was shattered, and strengthens what was weakened. Light restores balance not through sudden explosions of power, but through a deep, radiant reordering of everything around it. It lifts the innocent, exposes the wicked, clears confusion, and reopens paths that were blocked. This restoration often begins quietly. A small truth surfaces, a realization dawns, a person finds the courage to walk away from something harmful. A hidden motive comes to light, a new opportunity appears without warning. These subtle signs are the early movements of light as it starts to realign what darkness disrupted. They are the first ripples of a greater transformation that has already begun behind the scenes. Eventually, the shift becomes undeniable. Situations that once felt impossible to escape dissolve. People who once held power through manipulation lose their influence. Lies that once controlled perception unravel. Pain that once felt unbearable softens. Doors that were shut swing open with force. This is not coincidence, it is the culmination of light restoring order. When the moment of balance arrives, it feels as though the weight that is pressed on the spirit finally lifts, revealing a path forward where none existed before. The timing of this restoration is often misunderstood. Those suffering may cry out, wondering why justice takes so long or why clarity doesn't arrive sooner. But the delay is not neglect. It is preparation. Light ensures that when balance returns, it does so completely, not partially, not temporarily, completely. It waits until every piece is ready to fall into place, until truth has fully matured, until strength has grown within the innocent, until the darkness has exhausted itself and can no longer regain ground. Then, and only then, does light rise in full power. Balance is not restored merely externally. It is restored within the soul as well. Light heals the inner wounds left by betrayal, cruelty, or confusion. It softens bitterness, restores faith and rekindles hope. It clears the mind from illusions planted by others and renews the heart's ability to trust, love and discern. This internal restoration is just as important as the external one, because true balance can only exist when both the outer world and the inner world are aligned. Light also restores balance by repositioning people in accordance with their true energy. Those who carried malice find themselves distanced from power. Those who acted with integrity find themselves elevated. Those who tried to harm others become entangled in the consequences of their own actions. Those who suffered unjustly are given opportunities, blessings, and protection that lift them far beyond the reach of those who wronged them. This is not revenge, it is alignment. In addition, light restores balance by returning strength to the weary. It breathes life into exhausted spirits, revives forgotten dreams, and reignites purpose. It guides people back to themselves, back to clarity, back to truth. The innocent may not realize how deeply they have been protected, or how carefully balance has been preparing to return, but when the shift happens, they feel it. Something becomes easier, something becomes clear, something becomes possible. Even as darkness tries to resist, it cannot overpower what is meant to rise. The moment light decides to restore balance, the outcome is inevitable. Darkness may struggle, but its strength diminishes. Its illusions fail. Its power collapses. Light pierces through, unstoppable. Not violently, but with undeniable authority. It does not need force, its very presence commands realignment. Ultimately, light restores balance because balance is the natural state of all things. Darkness is a temporary distortion. Light is the original truth. No matter how far something seems to fall into shadow, light is always there, waiting for the moment to return, reshape and renew. And when it does, everything comes back into harmony. The world outside, the world within, and the path ahead. In its own time, light always rises, always heals, always restores. It never fails, it never forgets, it never abandons. It simply waits for the perfect moment to transform everything back into alignment, leaving no doubt that balance, once restored, is stronger than anything that tried to break it.